Malcolm Gunn from Sopra Steria. Just to warn you, Malcolm, it's hard to see the screen. That's why people keep Phil and I are just looking backwards. So I hope that works, and you're well prepared. Is everyone all right at the back, seeing the screen? Up to you, sir.
Okay, so I can go. This is based on user experience. It's a journey from the unknown. It's really when we started doing capacity management in Sopra Steria to where we are now. That isn't to say that capacity management wasn't already in pretty much every contract that had been signed with one of our customers. It's just that what we did wasn't particularly close to capacity management. So I'll give you a little bit of background. I started out in retail banking quite a long while ago when cash was king, really. I used to be on the counters, giving out the cash, taking in the checks, and I was actually doing capacity management without realising it, because part of that role was looking at the amount of cash that we were holding within the branch, the amount of cash we expected to come in, the amount we wanted to get out, so we had to plan for how much we needed to order each week. So perhaps I've been doing capacity management a lot longer than I ever thought. I then moved into commercial banking, and I had a portfolio of small and medium-sized businesses. My role there was to understand the business, look at the products and services that the bank had, and match the two up. And then, about 1998, I moved out of the financial services front end, as it were. I went to work in IT, and in IT, in service management, I've done incident management, change management, problem management, capacity management, and availability management. So I've got a number of ITIL processes under my belt. And then 4 years ago, I left the financial service industry and I went to work for an IT outsourcing company. So now, pretty much, if you pay me enough money, I'll capacity manage your infrastructure for you. Why I'm giving you that background? Because it helps, that background helps me understand capacity management from the perspective of the end user or the customer. So it gives me that view from end to end, and that might shade, in fact does shade, the way I have looked at capacity management going forward. But today is about capacity management. And probably the first question anyone's going to ask you about capacity management is, why do I need capacity management? What's the point? So everybody needs a capacity management elevator pitch. Why do you need capacity management? And as capacity managers, if you ever get to do your elevator pitch in an elevator, of all the ITIL processes, we will be the ones who have a visual aid in the elevator. Might not be as interesting as that one. There will be something that tells you the capacity of that lift. So what is the elevator pitch? Capacity management is the key to effective IT infrastructure management. If you don't know how much you have, how much you're using, and how quickly you're using it, how are you ever going to know how long something is going to continue to work for and how effectively it's going to function? Capacity management gives you the confidence that when you need it, the storage and the performance and the processing power will be there. It reduces outages, delivers increased availability, improves client and end user perception, delivers cost savings, whilst allowing everything to run smoothly. Why wouldn't you want capacity management? It makes our lives so much easier. Every one of us capacity manages every day in almost everything we do. When I get up in the morning, go to the fridge and open the door and get the milk out to put in my coffee, I capacity manage it. I have a look at how much milk's left. I have a think about what I'm going to be doing. Am I working? Am I at home? What's the likelihood of people coming to visit? Have I got enough milk to see me through the day? I'll quick scan round, have I got enough food? If not, I'll go and get some more. And if anyone was lucky to have a sunny day and have a barbecue planned, that's all about capacity management. How many people are you going to invite? And that number will bear no relation to the number who turn up. How much food do we need? How much wine, beer, soft drinks? How much do we put on the barbecue? How many crisps, nuts, nachos? And all through the barbecue, you're monitoring it and you're managing it. How are we doing? Are the crisps running out? Do I need to top anything up? Have we got enough beer in the fridge? We constantly monitor and manage that situation. So given we use it, it makes our life easier. Why is it so hard to get organisations to buy in to capacity management? What is it that stops us? Well, I'll take you through the process of the learning experience that we've had at Sopra Steria of getting capacity management in place. As I say, when myself and another colleague turned up, capacity management was in contracts. It was an IT outsourcer, we had very big contracts. And in those contracts was a few lines at least about capacity management. And when we came to actually look at how we implement it, we come up with against the first challenge. We already do it. Interesting. What do we do? Well, turns out we have that basic level, that component level. To be fair, we weren't anywhere close to what was described as component level, component capacity management in our earlier presentation. Pretty much, when you went to the technical towers and the service manager said, well, I've got monitoring and alerting on my boxes. When it gets to 85%, it sends out an alert. When it gets to 95%, it sends out an even stronger alert, and then we'll do something about it. And that's okay. As with any ITIL process, there's kind of a feasibility and a cost. But the way it was being done completely ignored a number of things, because it's not just where you are now, it's how quickly you're using up your resources. And also, we need to understand that if something's at 85% utilised, that might be okay. Or it might be an issue. Things might be growing. Particularly in storage, if your storage is 85 used, it kind of depends on how big your storage is. You might have bucketfuls of storage left, depending on how big you've got your array. And it also depends on the burn rate. And critically, that burn rate comes into play because it's how quickly you can implement your extra capacity. If you've got to go and buy some more storage to put in your array, and your procurement process is 6 weeks, and it turns out you've only got 3 weeks of burn, you're going to run out in 3 weeks because you've got a high burn rate, that alert isn't an awful lot of use to you. So you need to really understand a lot more around what's happening than just how busy that component is. And the impact of any extra capacity on performance, particularly even when you are doing it at that component level. We focus on individual boxes, and if we fix that box, will there be an impact further down the line? Do I need to spread the load across more boxes? Because often when you work at this level, what do you do? Box is full, slam another box on somewhere. Understanding what it is. And that's why we've got the F1 car. Capacity management actually is really important to these guys. They have some very clear guidelines of what they have to do in a race. Win it. But a car has to go for, I think it's 300 kilometres or 2 hours. And they're allowed 100 litres of fuel to do that. But every litre of fuel adds weight. And every kilogram of weight is a tenth of a second a lap for a full car. So you need to capacity manage it. No car runs with 100 litres in. Everyone has to take account of the track, how the track runs, how the utilisation has gone in the past, the temperature, the tyres, Even the historic nature of the track. Is it a track that has a lot of accidents? Do they bring a safety car out which slows everybody down and improves fuel efficiency? Capacity management has to take all that into account. And we have to do that with our systems, because even looking at the capacity of an individual box, as we mentioned, it's about the workload. Does the workload ebb and flow over a month, a quarter? We really need to know what's been going on. So when we came in, the first thing to overcome was what you've actually got in place isn't capacity management. What you've got in place is monitoring and alerting at a component level. We need to start to take this to the next step, and the next stage along is to bring those components together to understand a little bit more about the organisation's business, what it is that it actually does, what it delivers, what are the business critical services that we need to focus on. And from there, we start to bring in each of the individual components that go together to make up that end-to-end service. Now, there's a number of challenges you're going to get, one of which is, as an organisation, do we actually know with confidence what is running on each of our boxes? So capacity management itself can start to have a positive impact on other areas of the organisation. So we can put in a requirement, we really need an effective configuration management database. What's running where? As we implemented within the organisation at a service level, we did start to look at projecting forward. What is going to happen for those particular services? But it's done on spreadsheets, on Excel, and it works at a very simple level. I don't know whether you do the same. You kind of take the last 5 weeks worth of, or 5 months worth of growth, and we project that forward on a straight line. If you carry on doing what we're doing, this is the growth you've got left. So we can predict what will happen, but it's limited, and we need to understand the limitations that we were working with. If my trip computer tells me I've got 90 kilometres to go, that's based on the fact of how I've driven for the previous 400 kilometres. So to get 90 kilometres, I've got to drive exactly the same way of those 90 kilometres I did for the previous 400. And that's probably been quite erratic. So it's interesting, but it's really not something I want to rely on. I really don't want to play fuel like bingo in the hope that I'm going to get to the next fuel station. So we always need to understand the context of the figures we're reporting. And the same goes for the components. And sometimes when we do component reporting, we send out masses of reports, don't we, of CPU utilisation and storage. And if we're not careful, we can cause all sorts of chaos for people and ourselves, because we'll send something out, we'll have CPUs running at 80, 90%, and people will jump up and down, and everyone will shout, and they'll come back and go, but that's exactly what we're supposed to do. That's the way we need it to run. So we need to understand the context. And service level is good. It starts to get us focused on what our organisations are doing. It moves us away from that small mindset of, well, I look after the Unix boxes and I do storage. And the other challenge at here is getting that information out of the technical teams. For a long time, we've worked in an industry where knowledge is power. And people are reluctant to give up that knowledge, to share it. And sometimes the reason is because they're kind of hiding things. They're micromanaging the infrastructure. They're keeping it going by pedaling really fast. They're never able to step back. So we have to prize that information out and allow people to step back. And that's where we add value as capacity managers, when we start to get to this level and up to the business level. Stepping back, looking at the big picture, and getting that information out can be hard. And sometimes we have to buy in. We have to get people to buy in. And one of the ways we can do that is identifying something where, particularly if you can get the business, something where the business is struggling with utilisation, something's working slowly. We can find something initially to work on. We can show the value of capacity management. If we can go in, yes, this is running slow. It's because we've not got enough boxes, not got enough processing power. We can make the case, we can improve it, we can get the buy-in. Once we start to get the buy-in, then we can start to grow what we do. And this is where we should all aim to be as capacity managers, because component level, you might be said to be clever monitoring, alerting. Service level, more capacity reporting. Getting to this point, this is managing. This is where we understand the business, we understand the history of what's happened within our infrastructure. We get the business demand. And this is another challenge. Yes, the business wants us to work at that level. The organisation wants us to focus on the end user delivery. But getting that business demand, actually getting them to give us that information. You know, what's one of the first things you get is probably, oh well, it's industry sensitive that, we can't let you know that there's marketing campaigns coming up. Well, if you want the infrastructure to work effectively with confidence, you know, we work in the same organisation, we work for you. Share that information with us and we can make sure that when you put out that marketing campaign, you're expecting to see an increase in the number of orders coming through the website, you're expecting to see more in financial services, more accounts open. We can project that forward and we can be confident that the system's going to be there. We can really start to plan for the future. We can look at the growth, we can put together sensible, costed options to the business. This is where your business is going. You will need more capacity. Here's what it's going to cost you. Here's how long it's going to last. So we're getting into much more of a partnership. As we go through implementing it, from component to service, we break down the individual stovepipes of the component areas to work together in a service. This breaks down the IT and the business functions and gets it working as one organisation. And when we get that in, we can start to project forward with confidence. We can look at business peaks and troughs. If business gives us their demand, as time goes on, we can see whether the business demand was correct and also whether our projections for the infrastructure were correct, and we can start to develop that business model. But when you get to this level, now I know I'm dressed like all the Metron people in a suit, but I don't work for them. To do it at this level, you really need to invest in some form of industry-based toolset. You can do it on spreadsheets. I mean, I've seen plenty of spreadsheets that look more like databases, and they've got loads of macros in them. You can do it yourself with a SQL database. But long term, that builds in some significant risks. If you do it on spreadsheets, loads of macros, fine. But those have been written by one person, and that person may not be in the organisation anymore. Well, they're probably not going to stay there forever, even if you get the ones you've written. So when you come to have a look and you want to change the reporting or change some of the values in it, it starts to get messy. Same with, build your own database. It's kind of okay, but it's going to be coded by you. You've got to build a whole support model around it. And if you do it yourself, your vision and knowledge of capacity management, like mine, is kind of blinkered by what you do, and how you do it, and the industry you work in. When you invest in a tool set, the capacity management knowledge that you have access to grows massively. You get knowledge of how capacity management is working, you get access to the new trends, new ideas, new thoughts. You've also got a tool set that is supported by a vendor. So you're not reliant, as I went into when I was working in the financial services industry doing a service improvement for business banking and a business banking region had put together their own little business banking area. They'd built their own database with lots of customer information on. So as we're doing the review, so this database, where is it, who supports it? And the support model was based on Pete, who was going out with Louise. And he used to work for us, but now he's left. And he actually works for a competitor. That probably wasn't the best support model I've ever seen. So, doing it yourself is kind of a short-term option, but to do it properly, you need to invest in something that will allow you not only to have all that support, but also because when you buy into the vendor's product, you get, as we've got those dashboards, you're also able to make better use of the data. What it's allowed us to do is we still send reports out with average values on, pretty much as everybody does, sometimes with maximum values on. It scares the life out of people. This allows us to look under the covers, see what's going on, how those averages are made up. What can we see going on? We have spotted one or two things happening already under the covers that we now like to keep an eye on. We can start to trend those. Things that are happening on a regular basis now, peaks that are happening on a regular basis, sometimes on the online day, sometimes not. But we can now see what's going on underneath. And it is, what it allows us to do is actually go and stick our noses into all the places we were supposed to be doing capacity management. You know, we weren't employed to run a load of spreadsheets and macros. It's all done. Our job is to interpret that data and go and start making recommendations to how we can improve things. So we actually now have 3 levels of service, and they are based around that component, service, and business level. And I know it's a complex slide, but the idea is to show you can do it at that level 3, that component level, but your risk to service is high. You know, if you're waiting for monitoring and alerting, if you're waiting just to see when it breaks, it's not the best way. It's an option, but it really isn't the best way. Our service level is good. Now we're monitoring it, we're putting that information to good use at a service level, we're projecting forward, but at that level, we as an organisation only report out to the service managers. It's not really in a state to send out any detailed reporting to the client. Where we're trying to get everyone who comes along to us now is into that level 1, the business capacity management, because it's ITIL based, it's got all the areas that are defined in ISO 20000, it's got the business demand, project demand, we know everything that's coming along. If you buy into that, we can be confident we can supply you with really effective capacity management, and we will, reduce the cost. We'll make sure that when you need it, capacity's there. And when you're working at that level, not only are you making sure you're projecting forward, you can also look for underutilisation. You can look to spread the workload better. You might be able to decommission some kit. You may well be able to save money. So the biggest problem for us is, as capacity managers, first of all, not everybody wants us there. And secondly, the better we do it, the more invisible we become. Has anyone ever worked in incident management? Incident management is great because you're the hero. You're called in, it's broken. The only way is up. You fix it. Everybody knows what you do. Everybody loves you. If you stop it breaking in the first place, does anybody ask, well, why has that been working since day one? No. The way we've started to get that information over to the organisation is any time when we're interpreting the figures, any time we identify an issue that needs investigation, we log it. Now we might raise a proactive problem record, we may even raise a call to the service desk, but we log it in our action log. Last year was the first year we done capacity management properly. We logged 700 items in the action log or as we like to tell everybody else, that's 700 incidents that didn't happen. Because we were able to identify a trend and we were able to put a fix in at our leisure. We weren't rushing around during an incident, we were actually able to put the fix in at our leisure and understand the impact of what we were doing. So we didn't fix one thing and find something else breaking further down the line. So the more you can get into that proactive space, the better it is. And I spend some time now going round to meet with the service managers and tell them exactly what it is that we're doing, what it is that they're getting. And our capacity reports don't just have a load of graphs in now. We tell them what we've done again. These are the things we identified. These are the actions we've recommended. These are the ones that have been done. These are the ones that, after investigation, have decided we don't need to do. But they know the amount of work that is going on in the background to keep everything running smoothly. The other good way to make sure people understand what you do is to get capacity management into your conversations. So when Ian tells me that he's got coffee and cakes and buns for us, obviously I ask him that he's capacity managed it correctly and that there is going to be enough to last the day. But any time you can get capacity management into a conversation, just occasionally drop it in so people know what's happening. Our next steps, we've got some aspirations. Cost of an incident. We can get some detailed information together around cost of incident. We can add that to our action log. Not only can we say, look at that, 700 incidents that didn't happen. Here's what the cost would have been if it were broken. And if some of those are going to be major incidents, large reputational risk, that really underlines the benefit that we as capacity managers give. Cost of outage saved. So it's trying to get now a financial figure around what it is that we save. Ooh, look at that. We've come to the end of this one. If there's any questions, I've got a few more bits to sum up, but if there's any questions now,
Yeah, I got one.
It's not allowed to say any questions because I've worked with him.
As an outsourced capacity management service you're providing,
Yeah.
what sort of contractual obligations do you have? So if a capacity incident occurs or something that's been attributed to a capacity management incident, what are the penalties on yourselves?
As an organisation, it
Yeah.
would be capacity management as such. It would be an outage, would be if it runs a certain amount of time, would be service credits. So we'd be paying service credits on outages.
Right.
Accredited to capacity is a really good point, and that, I guess we've all come across that.
Yeah.
Just because something fills up, everyone jumps on capacity, and often that'll go in as the root cause,
Yeah.
and we'll stop investigations, and we'll probably see a repeat. So part of our role in that case is to make sure actually it wasn't capacity. Why did it fill up? Is the question we need to ask. So that's a good point, and yes, it would cost us in terms of service credits. So yeah, we have to give the client back some money,
Yeah.
and we don't like doing that. And depending on the length of the outage and the type it was, it wouldn't be actually out of a capacity management pool of money. It would be a generic organisational pool. But if it was capacity and we hadn't spotted it, I'd probably get my backside kicked, if nothing else.
Yeah. But that again would allow you to then put prices on stuff,
Indeed, yeah.
which is a good thing.
And that's all around the cost of an outage. Yeah, we put that in.
That's not a good thing because you've got an outage. Right?
Well, we wouldn't have. But if you had, historically, we could look back. These are the sort of outages you had.
Yeah.
You're not having them now. We spotted this. Normally, it would lead to an outage that lasted 2 hours. It's not happened, so we'd put a cost in the benefit.
How do you get buy-in for people when you log the things that need investigating? How do you make sure you get them investigated? So proactive problems tend to go down the list of things.
To be honest, by being a pain in everybody else's backside, we'll log it. We actually meet regularly. We meet every week with each of the technical towers, so we will work with them. So it's a long process because you have to get, and it's still not fully in, because you've got to get this buy-in of, yes, you've got incidents that you're managing, but if you start to work on some of this stuff now, over time, you'll have less of that chaos and more of this planned work. And it does take a long time, and some areas get it straight away, and some areas have still got the closed mindset that this is the way we've always done it. We've always waited in effect for it to break. So what we have to do is keep telling those people, look, there's some other teams who are working a lot more effectively now. And I suppose in the worst case, we might be taking call-out fees away from someone. If you was called out in the middle of the night, you might moan about it, but you get paid for it. I don't know, there may be a cultural change that needs to happen.
Can I ask one, Malcolm? You obviously have a history with capacity management you just described, but coming into Sopra Steria, I don't get the impression it was as mature as perhaps your experience. What did you find when you landed? Who were the people who were supporting you?
Fortunately, the support was from above down. That's why they brought myself and a colleague in. Also, the organisation was being challenged because it was in contract. You might be aware, capacity management does seem to have moved up on everybody's radar. So clients will come in and say, we've got this thing called capacity management in the contract. What do we get for it? So the buy-in was to make it happen. The toughest bit is what you mentioned, Dave, is getting the buy-in from the technical teams. Those teams are really, really busy because historically, a lot of the workload is around incident and fixing things that are breaking. So it still is to get that confidence. And some of it's from although the clients are asking for it, and we'll probably come on to that next time, what they're expecting for what they pay and what we will offer for what they're paying are two different things. And that's something that we've had to address in terms of getting a capacity management process in place. So this is around the basics, and it's kind of what we've had to do to get the process in, is get that elevator pitch, make sure we've got something. Capacity management, right, my personal view, ITIL processes. There's three vitally important ones: capacity management, performance management, and availability management. If you've got enough capacity for your current state and your expected growth, it's performing effectively and as well as the clients need, and it's available when they need it, everything else should fall into place. Incident, problem, should all start to drop away a bit as we get into a proactive space. But have your elevator pitch. Make sure everyone knows what it is that we deliver. And this is where when we went in to Sopra Steria, get the process documented. Get a clearly documented process, what it is you do, and in your capacity. So we've got a process now that works at those three levels. So when a contract now goes out, it's clearly documented. If you're paying this, you've got a level 2 service, this is what you'll get. Get the capacity management plan in place. Clearly state the level of service, the scope, the components, the services that are included. Why is that important? Because different people will have different perceptions if you don't nail it down. I don't know if you saw, there was something in the news about a woman who had an Audi TT, she took it to a garage, the garage struggled to repair it, so he said to her, take your partner out for a meal, bring us the receipt, we'll pay it. Seems fine to me. Not to the garage when she turned up with, I think it was a £700 bill. She did exactly what they asked. She went off to a Michelin-starred restaurant and had some very nice wine. Maybe the VW car thing's the same. What did he say to those software designers? Put some software in that will make our cars pass the emissions test. Isn't that exactly what they did? You've got to nail down what it is you want and what it is you're going to deliver. Get your reporting to underpin that. Regular updates, not just graphs. Show what you've actually delivered, what's been important, what's been effective. As you get the process that's repeatable, get yourself some templates built. Business demand projects, BAU demand templates. So you've got something, some new projects coming in. This is what I expect from you. I want to know exactly how much CPU, memory, exactly what it is that your project's going to have a look at. We'll then check across the estate and see whether we've got enough. Get your acceptance criteria built in. You're doing capacity management. What do you want from those projects? Don't just let them have a tick box to say, oh, we've engaged with capacity management, tick. No. Tell them exactly what you want. If it's a new application, I want application feeds, new infrastructure. I want feed into the CMIS. I want them designed in as part of the project. I don't want to have to put them in as an afterthought. So get everything in up front.
Do you ask them to produce a capacity model as part of their project life cycle?
Yes, I can ask for it and I'll get something. And I'm also in terms of, it's coming in day one, but what's the 3, 6, 12 month expectation of utilisation? And that, gives us a real chance then to start at a sensible point. In terms of outsourcing, but even internally, get even just a rough rule of thumb cost model. What is it going to cost us as capacity managers to manage that infrastructure? It's really important for me as an outsourcer putting into a bid, but equally if you're running it internally, just to understand the costs that you're carrying and whether you've got enough staff, whether you need more staff, and whether it's cost effective to do that. So in summary, understand the challenges. It's about being proactive ourselves. Think of the challenges that we're going to face as we implement capacity management, and think of all the arguments people are going to put to us as why we shouldn't do it, and come up with a counter argument so you're ready. We know what it is we're going to respond with. Start simple and build up. If we can find something, if we can see something that is a capacity issue, and go and fix that, and no matter how simple it was, go and brag to everybody and anybody further up the food chain to get the buy-in so they know what we do. Make sure your process is repeatable. It's going to have to flex to meet particular business needs, but get a framework that you can work with. The one I like is having all the collateral in place. Simple reports, simple templates. So when people come along and say, well, what do I get for my money? Internally as well. Well, this is what you get. Here's the sort of report you'll get. Here's all the templates we use to interface with the other IT processes that are coming in. Certainly at the business level, at any level, it depends on the size of your organisation, but at any level, getting a tool set really helps. Because, as I said, we're capacity managers. I don't want to be sat running spreadsheets and waiting to see if the feeds come in from the Unix box so I can cut and paste it into a spreadsheet and run a macro. I just want it to be there. And with a tool set, all I do is log on, whoa, everything's there. I can actually start to manage the capacity. We're moving everybody towards that business capacity management. That's our journey. But when everyone gets there, it's not going to stop. Because once we're there, we're going to be refining it, we're going to be tweaking it, we're going to be looking at ways we can improve it. So never stop. But for me, the key is, this is our job. We spend a lot of time doing it. So make it fun. It's a really important thing. And sad as it is, capacity management is really important. And make it matter. Not only can we keep the systems running, because of our requirements for an effective configuration management database, for all, because we need feeds in from other areas, we can actually have a positive impact on the rest of the organisation. Now, I'm not saying that's easy, but we can make it matter and we can make a real difference in all our organisations. So, if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can do through Soccer Stereo, I don't think anyone will mind, hopefully. Or you can contact me through LinkedIn. That does it for me.
Any more questions for Malcolm?
Yeah, I've got one, Malcolm. How do you measure success?
How do we measure success?
If you've been successful here.
At the moment, it's not too bad because part of it is looking at the number of incidents or times when capacity was breaching thresholds, and we're bringing those down. So we're getting less alerts, so we're getting a benefit in terms of less things firing off to the technical team, so we're reducing workload there. Ideally, the end point will be to make a financial benefit, so we're not only are we running cost effectively, we can show success will be, as the other gentleman said, it will be around this is the amount of money we've saved the organisation. You pay us, these are our salaries, this is the overall cost of running the team, but this is the actual financial benefit that we've put back into the organisation. And things like having a tool set actually help us do that, because we can, in effect, our team costs reduce because the number of staff we need is less, but the deliverables, the number of actions that we can identify increases, and we can show how much more we're doing with less resources. We can handle more accounts with the same number of people. It's reducing the impact, and that will go down. So the trouble is, we become more and more invisible. We're a year and a half, year and 3/4 in. There was a lot of easy pickings. So it's going to get tougher.
It's difficult to put a cost on what to prevent it, because it doesn't happen. So
It is, and it might not have happened, but we have to be economical with the truth and say it would have happened, therefore it would have cost you this, and it didn't. So, yeah, you just got to paint a good picture.
So the big message is keep measuring your results.
Yes.
This is less of a question, more just sharing what we've been looking at recently in terms of outages. So you mentioned how can you put a cost to an outage that hasn't actually happened?
Yeah.
But there are times where in our company where we have to have downtime things, and we are constantly revenue generating. So if we at any time where we have to have downtime, there's going to be a revenue cost for that. And we've started delivering the business optimal times to plan downtime. So they come to us and say, we need to do this work at some point.
Yeah.
And we, using business figures and things like that, we can provide the business with the ideal time to do it.
Yeah.
And moving that on, we're also looking at, there are times where we have more than one incident, so we might have one product down, or we have a problem with a double product and another different with another product. And all these products have different peak times and generate money more at other times than others. And we're kind of looking at trying to be able to steer the business into kind of having an order, a priority of which incidents to be dealing with first, based on business figures and revenue and things like that. So that's just to share that in terms of when you're on about kind of outages and costs of incidents and things. We've started doing a lot more work around trying to provide more answers to the business in terms of how we can limit the amount of money we might lose on any given time.
I think that's key. It's that partnership, it's understanding the business critical services and the times that they run. You know, I don't know. Well, my eyes aren't good, I can't see who you work for. You're web-based.
They have a load of that money.
Work at William Hill, so it's
Yeah.
very. There's a lot of different products and a lot of different times that those products are popular.
Yeah.
So.
And
Yeah,
in
so-
financial services, things like ATM usage.
Yeah.
You know,
On a
there's
Friday,
there's strange times when it gets really busy and
Yeah.
you don't want it down, and you might think, oh yeah, 11 o'clock at night, be fine. Well, why not do it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is understanding what's going on.
Any more questions for Malcolm? That's good, because Malcolm's bob on time. Malcolm was saying how good I was at capacity managing things. Well, I don't know if you saw a note pass back. I said, we're running ahead of schedule. Bring the food forward 10 minutes. Which they've duly done. I know. So it just goes to show we're the best capacity managers. Which means we shouldn't hang around too much. Food is being served outside. It's out there waiting for you. It's a time to mingle. I'd appreciate any feedback on the temperature in the room and if the lighting is okay as well through the lunchtime as well. But enjoy yourselves. See you later.